And welcome to a special edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. Join the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Live from the 607, it is the ODPH Wrestling Recap. I'm your host, Ken M., and sitting across from me this week, back in studio yet again, the one, the only, Jonny Moose from Xcite Wrestling.
I'm not going to lie, I like coming in here. When we're not on the air, I'm going to pitch you a bunch of podcasts. It's going to be great.
I'm definitely waiting to hear it, because we can definitely make this happen. No doubt about it.
I know I told you about my Getting Heat podcast that I want to do. Just so, if nothing else, I want you to moderate just so you could be so uncomfortable while I'm grilling these guys. It would be tremendous.
I know. Well, Coach Duffy's talking about doing a vlog on the ODPH YouTube page. We might have to put it up there, and you can just see me cringing, like when Moose is just trying to get as much heat as he can.
Well, you know I'm a partner at Twitch too. There's a lot of stuff we can do, man.
There's a lot of stuff. We were going to have to discuss this.
I know. You'd think the hour that we were just talking, we would have talked about it, but no.
No.
I'm going to wait till we're on the air to bring this stuff up.
Hashtag ODPH if you want to join in the conversation on social media. So if we're going to be talking wrestling, you just got back from arguably the biggest independent wrestling show of the year.
No, ever.
Ever?
Ever.
All in Chicago, September 1st. Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks put it together. Describe the whole scenario for us here.
This is the first pro wrestling show I went to as just a fan. Not as a promoter guy, not as a whatever, in a long time. Every once in a while I'll pop up at a show, but that's just to say hi to people and hang out, but not really go as a fan. That's what the whole point of this weekend was. We went as a big group. There's a big contingent from the general upstate New York area that went. I think we had a VIP suite because we're very important.
Oh, absolutely.
I think there was like 12 people or 14 people or something like that, and they're all 2CW type people, fans. The 2CW office was there. It was a good time to go, and they had the big convention. Which
the StarCast there.
Yeah, and not to again deviate from the thing, but. All it is a big, giant podcast extravaganza, which maybe next year we should, work this out so we are there.
Well, yeah, because I mean, just watching it at home, too, I mean, it just seemed like every single wrestling podcast that could be there was there.
There were the podcasts that could be there running live shows and podcasts that just went there as fans that were still running their show there, not even technically a part of it, but we're still doing it as a part of the show. Mm-hmm. It was something, and it sets my wheels spinning.
Well, just being a fan and just observing it. I mean, it's just like, you've been to WrestleMania before. I've been there, and I mean, trying to explain to somebody that is not a wrestling fan, it's hard to do. This almost sounds like it was like the same deal because it was just fans being fans and just enjoying, their love of pro wrestling.
I don't enjoy big crowds. Obviously, Xcite, we don't get those big crowds. It was set up on a tee. I wasn't even going to take it. You wait in line. Any convention, I think we talked about this for Comic-Cons and stuff. Mm-hmm. You sit there and you wait in line for 2 hours. You meet the person. Maybe get a minute, maybe get 2 minutes with the people you just waited. If you're lucky,
yeah.
If you're lucky. Sometimes when they're doing pictures, you get 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And then out. So you got to be a real diehard fan to enjoy certain aspects of a convention like this. But it was a little bit different because I've been to a lot of conventions. I've been to wrestling conventions. I've been to horror conventions. I've been to Comic-Cons. And you've been to New York City Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can confirm this or maybe I'm way off base. But a lot of times when you're at a Comic-Con, especially when you're waiting in line, you hear a lot of complaints.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, they've gotten a lot better about it at NYCC. But the first couple of years I went, that's everybody was complaining about.
You get lots of complaints and you get a lot of things. Honestly, at StarCast, I didn't hear nearly any complaints from fans. I heard a lot of complaints from wrestlers.
Yeah.
Because they were very disorganized with a lot of the wrestling stuff, where the wrestlers needed to have tables set up, where they needed to be, things like that. But fans were just there to enjoy being around other fans. They felt like it was a community event, because it really was. There was so many people there, and Cody and the Bucks, they were treated like like a Steve Austin type would be treated at Access.
Okay.
They had security around them. People were just trying to get as close as they could to them. It was cool to see that situation for dudes that I've been around or booked or worked many shows with, to see them get that level of treatment and have this whole community there. Make no mistake, for the Bullet Club, that group of people, they were the main show. They were just like the All-In show. There was one main graphic, and it was the Bullet Club graphic throughout the whole show.
Well, they're arguably the biggest thing on the indie scene, you would say.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
I mean,
and I don't know how much financially they were involved in. They made it seem like it's their money, and they put up all the money for the show. But when you bought a T-shirt or you bought a hat from the vending, it said Ring of Honor on your merch tag, on your receipt. So New Japan had to have a hand in it. Ring of Honor had definitely had a hand in it. So I don't know how much is all Cody and the Bucks versus a collaboration of two major companies with a few dudes who led the charge. If they were just the face or if it was all their money, because it could have been all their money with Ring of Honor and New Japan supporting it. I have no idea. I don't know if we'll ever know. The Bucks and Cody made it seem like it's their money, their show, their everything.
Well, I mean, you figure they were the ones that put it together, because, I mean, especially it was just on a whim, too. I mean, the funny thing about it is just saying, you guys could never pull off a show like this.
Yeah, well, it was Dave Meltzer, who we met in our suite.
Really?
Yes, I'll get to that in a minute. But Dave Meltzer made a comment because someone asked a question like, who can draw more than 10,000 people in the United States beyond WWE? And he said no company can draw more than 10,000 people. WWE and most house shows don't draw 10,000 people. There's nobody else. And then Cody or the Bucks posted, challenge accepted. He was prominently there. So it's not like they had ill will to Meltzer saying you can't draw 10,000.
No, because, I mean, especially it's such an event that I think anybody who is a fan would be there, and Meltzer would be one right up on the top of the list.
Yeah, and they treated it like, okay, we can do this. And we talked about it, I think, on the last wrestling show. This was something that was very calculated, put together, and this is the right time and the right moment to do this show. And it was the right building. They drew 11,263.
Correct.
That was at the Sears Center. And they could have done the Allstate Arena. They could have done the United Center. United Center is much, much bigger. I think that's like 23,000.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge.
There's so many venues out in Chicago. I mean, they could have just had their pick of the litter almost.
Right. And they went with this building probably because they got the best deal. I mean, that building was just, it's kind of almost like the Wilkes-Barre Arena.
Okay.
In a lot of ways, a little bit bigger, but it was the right time for them to do this show. When you went there and you saw the line before the show started, before they opened the doors, you thought, "Oh my God, there is so many black Bullet Club shirts that if you had something with color on, you were like the odd person out."
Yeah.
It was either like a metal show. We actually said it. We're either at a metal show or we're at a Young Buck show, because it was a line that stretched the length of the building that literally was black shirts. That's all you've seen. Now, I don't know if this number is correct because, Twitter and the interwebs, you never know how much this is true. Someone pointed out, 11,263 is an impressive number. You know what's more impressive? The 400,000 shirts plus that they sold in the last 3 months.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because especially with the deals they have at Hot Topic, for example, I mean, it's now become mainstream for the Bullet Club to be everywhere. And now you're seeing, like, Joey Ryan has shirts there, and I believe the SCU shirts are going to start winding up there.
I'll give you a story just to kind of give you an idea of how this went. My friend Josh, he owned 2CW, right?
Okay.
He used to give me a hard time about being a wrestling fan because you're in the business, can't be a fan. Whatever. Since he's out of the business, he's gone to more wrestling shows than you can imagine. We're going to this thing, and we kind of kept together. But we were going to do some other things outside of wrestling. We're not going to do a ton at a wrestling convention. It's not like we're going to wait in line. He actually did some cool little meet and greet things, but I had no plan. I bought my plane ticket at 11:30 the night before I was flying out.
Oh man,
I'm not what you would call a planner for these things. Slept on the floor in somebody's hotel room, and I realized I'm old and I'm fat. I'm not going to do too well being underneath a desk on the floor. So I ended up booking myself my own hotel room. Everybody was bunked in, like 3 or 4 people. I had my own room because I'm fat and I'm privileged. I'm just like, I'm not doing this. I'm too old. So we went to the Red Sox, played the White Sox. So we went to that baseball game that Friday night. Yeah, it was great for the first 3 innings. And then a monsoon hit. I mean, it was horribly rain. They still played the game. We left by the time they ended up restarting the game. But I mean, there was a lightning storm like you wouldn't believe. Very cool, except for the 2 football field run that we had to do to get back to the car. Plus, so we're soaked, but we had reservations at this swanky steakhouse. Now I'm gonna paint a picture for you. So if anybody doesn't know who I am or Josh is or our little crew. You have me, who's wearing, actually I'm wearing this button-down shirt that nobody can see right now, with a concert shirt of some sort. Might even be this one. I might be repeating my outfit right here. Along with, gym shorts, because that's just the way it would be. You have Josh, who lost a ton of weight, is looking awesome, but because he's always cold, he's wearing a hoodie, he's wearing sweatpants, but they're sweatpants and hoodie from when he was bigger, so they're like real big on him. Then we had Justin, who's wearing a Bullet Club shirt and jeans, and he has the jeans rolled up to show off his Oilers hockey socks with the new Nike sneakers that he bought that are like really gaudy red and black. I guess they're cool if you like Nike shoes, but high tops. And then you got Lovins, who was probably the best dressed of the bunch, wearing, like a respectable shirt and a nice pair of shorts. So we go we're downtown. We're going down to what we have been told is the nicest, most expensive steakhouse in Chicago, because they know we can eat.
Yeah.
We go to this thing, and I mean, you're looking at the Richie Rich of the Chicagoites. Dressed to the nines, you got people in suits. Now, we looked ahead of time. They don't really have a dress code. They're like, we want you to be comfortable, but you can't wear like a muscle shirt or something stupid like that.
Right.
So we're standing there, and we're getting the looks. And then all of a sudden, someone just walks out. Doesn't even say anything, just puts up the too sweet for Justin, who's wearing the Young Bucks shirt. So they too sweet. I call them a bunch of marks. They walk out. We were actually getting antsy, like, why judge us? We're going to go in there. I'm going to get a 48-ounce porterhouse, you losers. So we go in, and then as soon as we sit down, it's whoop, whoop, Young Bucks. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Can't escape pro wrestling. There's a guy in a Young Bucks shirt behind. So we're at the swankiest Chicago place. Now we got 2 people in Young Bucks shirts right next to each other.
Oh man.
It's just we took over the city. It was even at the baseball game, the guy shilling the hot dogs was, "Hey, you guys going to the show tomorrow? I can't wait to go to the show tomorrow." Literally everybody in the town was talking about this show, which is really cool to see. It was a bunch of marks, loser wrestling people. Let me tell you.
But it just goes to show, I mean, just how far pro wrestling and even indie wrestling has now become. I mean, it's now grown into where, you're getting stopped for wearing Bullet Club shirts and Young Bucks, and it's just got to be such a, like a weird feeling, I guess, to just kind of see how far it's just exploded. But it's a great feeling, though.
It's a great feeling. It's cool to see that stuff, if for no other reason, those dudes are good people. Yeah. We've had our experience with them. They were nothing but great. They deserve it because they worked their ass off. That kind of thing. Still get bit into the little bit of bitterness that I had at the last wrestling show. This isn't really, go to every other wrestling company in the world that has this kind of experience, because they're a unique brand to themselves, which leads to, what are they going to do when their contract expires? Are Ring of Honor and New Japan going to join up and give them a high dollar deal? Because they need to if they want to keep them around. Are they going to change the deal up, give them a high dollar deal and say, hey, on the off days you can work indie dates in the States, clean up, because they can charge whatever they want and people will pay it.
There's just a lot of different directions it can go. I mean, that'll be one of the most interesting topics when their contracts all come up, because, I mean, obviously with the success of All In, and you figure the WWE has to be eyeing them. I mean, I'm sure every single pro wrestling federation has to be looking at them, or company rather.
Well, you got to figure the Young Bucks have been on their radar for a while, and we actually had this discussion when we were stuck in traffic for the baseball game, I think. Traffic in Chicago sucks, by the way.
Yeah, it's a busy city.
The question is, what do they do? Do they stay and do their own thing and be their own thing, or do they cash in and go do the WWE? Now, I'm a steadfast, they should go to the WWE, they should cash in, because they're not getting any younger. And while they have to do a lot more dates and they have a lot less control, and all that cool merch deals that they have is going to go away, there's certain feeling of having security and knowing, hey, I blew out my arm, WWE is going to pay for it, and I'm going to get paid to sit at home while they pay for me to get rehab. Versus, hey, I blew out my arm on an indie show, and they don't have insurance, and I'm going to go sit at home.
Yeah.
Hope somebody buys my shirt.
Well, you got to figure that. I mean, that would probably be the biggest challenge they haven't done yet, is going to WWE and making that work.
Well, Cody has.
Well, Cody has, but I mean, Cody's the exclusion. I'm just talking about the Young Bucks.
No, and the thing is, if you look at somebody like Cody, who's like, yeah, I've been there, and it didn't work. There's something to be said about that. I don't really know what it's going to be. It kept flip in our conversation. It kept flip-flopping to, no, they should go, and no, they shouldn't go, because they wouldn't be able to be the Young Bucks in the WWE. Maybe they can be. I mean, Kevin Steen is Kevin Owens, but he's Kevin Steen for the most part.
I think over the past couple of years, especially with who's come through NXT, I mean, you look at Kevin Owens, you look at Samoa Joe, you look at Shinsuke Nakamura. For the most part, everybody's still been the same. I mean, Nakamura is a little different case because he's kind of had to tone down his style a little bit, I think.
Well, you can't just knee people in the face.
Right.
I think the thing is, it's like you look at those guys, and a lot of the thing has to be that they're also Triple H guys, too.
No, that's true.
And Triple H kind of keeps guys under their wings. Kevin Owens was a Triple H guy. Nakamura, some of these guys were guys that Triple H is like, this is the guy. Would the Young Bucks be that? I don't know. Are they going to let them take over the Suck It? Or are they going to reunite Triple H and Shawn Michaels and bury them, which could happen?
That could happen. Those are all some really good questions. But let me throw a quick break in. We're going to come back and talk some more All In with Jonny Moose here on the ODPH Wrestling Recap.
Hey, this is Rob Kacharik from the band 607, Autopilot Off, and Walking Distance, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH Wrestling Recap, we're talking with Jonny Moose from Xcite Wrestling about his time in All In, the independent show, September 1st in Chicago. So, John, why don't you keep filling us in here about the story about StarCast?
StarCast was really cool, especially if you're a wrestling fan. There was a lot of draws to it. You could meet a lot of guys that you probably couldn't normally meet. Young Bucks, Cody. If you go to a Ring of Honor show, you probably can meet them maybe. A lot of guys from Japan. They had, guys like Eric Bischoff who aren't around a lot. And you can do different things. It was pretty cool. You can do promo with Tony Schiavone on the, TBS set.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and you could have done a promo with Sean Mooney and like an old WWE set, and there was a lot of unique little things that you could do. You can do like the big announcer for Ring of Honor. You could call a match with them, and there was just a lot of unique things that you wouldn't normally get to do at a convention that you could do with this convention.
And especially because it wasn't just so much Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling there. It was a mix of just basically every single independent company in the country for the most part. Just sending somebody there and doing something there for the fans.
It was very fan-oriented. And very, the convention itself was put together by the guy that does the podcast with Bruce Pritchard, Conrad. Thompson, I believe. So it was very podcast heavy. There, all the big podcasts were there. Bruce was there. Tony Schiavone was there. I know I said Sean Mooney. They all had podcasts. Cole Cabana was there. Macaulay Culkin was there with his podcast.
Yeah, he's a big wrestling fan, though. I've seen him at some shows, though.
Which, on an off-related note, he invaded our suite at the All-In show.
All right, you got to break that story down.
Yeah, so I can't tell you too much because I don't really know how this all came about, but more or less, I was sitting... The way the suite was, you had like a little room with a couple chairs. They had food, like a spread for us. There was a little bar area where you could sit, and then they had actual seats kind of sort of in the arena. I'm sitting in my seat, and a guy comes up to me, "Hey, I just want you to know Macaulay Culkin's in our suite right now." And I'm like, "What?" And I stand up, I turn around, and sure enough, he's there, and he's grabbing stuff from our food area. I don't know if he was stealing food or stealing supplies. One of the two for his suite. And I'm like, "Oh, I got to get a picture." And then he booked. He was like out. And me and another guy who's like an Uber fan, I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. I'm going to get a picture or something." But he was booking. Because of course, other people from other suites were starting to come out. Like, something happened. So I think he went into other people's suites too. And everybody's just like, "Did that really happen? Was he really just invading all our suites?" But that's more or less what happened with him. I guess I'll tell you the Meltzer story.
Yeah, getting back to where you said you met Dave Meltzer.
So the way the suites with the seats are, you can see all the other suites' seats. You can't necessarily see outside of the one you're right directly next to back into the little area where the sitting area and the food is, but you can see who's in the seated area. And Meltzer was in the suite next to ours. And actually, we had a better suite than he did.
Oh, nice.
Which someone brought that up to him, which I thought was hilarious. That our suite was better than his. One of the guys did a meet and greet at the StarCast as well. He did his meet and greet. He wanted to meet him, and he's like, "Hey, I did your meet and greet today, and I subscribed to the Observer. Will you come over and do a picture with all of us?" And Meltzer, being the cool guy Meltzer is like, "Yeah, okay."
Oh, that's awesome.
He came over, said hi to everybody. We got the pictures there, and he was really cool about it and didn't give anybody a hard time, and was very friendly. And then he kind of went back over to his suite, and everybody was cool. I've heard other stories because there was a lot of up in the suite area. There was a lot of wrestlers and a lot of different dignitary type people, and like someone went up to Scott Hall. Scott Hall was there and asked him, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And he's like, "Oh, no, brother, I'm off the clock." And pretty much left him hanging. And I have mixed feelings about that. Part of me is like, yeah, okay, I get it. He's not there to do pictures. He already did that at the convention. But another thing is like, nobody's up there. It's not like there's going to be a big line of people. It's just him and that guy.
Right.
Do a quick picture and just off you go. But
to each their own. I mean, everybody's got a different thing about that.
Yeah, I get it, but I don't. I mean, he's at a wrestling show, so it's kind of, if he was at a concert or he was at dinner with his family, it's one thing. If you're at a wrestling show and then you go up to a wrestling fan, no, I'm not going to do a wrestling fan thing.
That's a little off.
Yeah, it's not, but I get it at the same point. But there was a lot of that situation. I ran into Jimmy Jacobs after his match. He was up there. I'm sure if I really wanted to go exploring the suites, I could have ran into a lot of different people and probably a lot of different celebrity types. I ran into Ron Funches. Yeah, he was sitting literally. He was. The only thing that divided our suite from the other suite was like a little brick wall, and he was sitting right against the brick wall, right next to our guy who was sitting next to the brick wall, and they were talking wrestling the whole night.
I mean, he's just such a big fan. I mean, I first found out about Ron through At Midnight, the show that used to be on Comedy Central,
right?
And you could tell because he would always wear wrestling shirts on there, and I think in one episode he had a Ric Flair robe.
Yeah.
You just know that he's just such a big wrestling fan.
He did the roast. They did the roast of Bruce Pritchard, so he was there for different things. I know he was there for a podcast too. I didn't recognize him at first because he's lost some weight.
Yeah.
And I know him from the Powerless show, which was kind of a comic book
it was
themed comedy, and I loved it. I thought it was great. It had, Danny Pudi? I'm probably mispronouncing his last name. It was the guy from Community. It was a great show. And then it got canceled after like one season or whatever. But as soon as I saw him, I'm like, wait, the guy from Powerless? And they're like, yeah, he's in right there. And I'm like, I've been sitting next to him the whole night. And it didn't really dawn on me. So I went up and of course I had to try to get my mark picture with him. And, I got to tell him how much I love that show. And you could see him kind of beam up a little bit. Like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. It's not about wrestling. It's not. I'm like, no. This thing you did was really awesome. He couldn't have been a cooler guy. Very friendly.
Yeah, he just seems like that type of guy.
Yeah, X-Pac was actually in that suite, too, at one point. There's a lot of people that came in and out of that suite. A lot of people from The Observer, and I know Conrad was in there at one point. I think we were close to where the backstage access was.
Okay.
Based on where our suites were. So I think that was part of the reason why that suite was so inundated with, like, people. The whole convention, they oversold Saturday, which was weird because I guess it's because it's in the hotel. They weren't really checking anything. So, like, you could just walk around. And there was one area, a couple areas, you couldn't get into, like, where they were doing the special panels.
Okay.
Unless you had bracelets. They'd let the platinum go in first, then the gold, then the silver, and then the general. But if you didn't have like a ticket, you couldn't get into the panels. And there was a vendor area you couldn't get into unless you had a bracelet. But Saturday, they weren't selling bracelets. They weren't selling anything. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're oversold. We can't do it. But they still would let you in the building. And the majority of the wrestlers that were not there for special signings were just there at tables, just hanging out. So you could just meet anybody you wanted.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
Without a ticket.
Yeah.
So it was one of those that was a little disorganized, but I benefited from it because I didn't buy any special bracelets or anything like that. So I would just walk in and out as I pleased. And I made sure when I did get my hotel, it was right across the parking lot from the convention, so I didn't have to walk. Not real big on walking,
Yeah.
It was just very fan-friendly. I think the wrestlers were a little perturbed that it seemed a little disorganized. Like Matt Cross, I ran into Matt Cross, former Xcite champion. Mm-hmm. He got there, and they're advertising him to be at StarCast, and he's like, where's my table? I'm like, oh, we don't have a table. I don't know. And they had no place for him, and it's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? And then he ended up hooking up with Brian Cage.
Okay.
And Cage had a set time for a meet and greet, so they were adding Cross to it. But at this point, they're in the lobby. People kept coming up to Cross to get a picture, and he's like, no, because he didn't want to take away from the meet and greet that,
It was already set for Cage.
Right. So he was kind of saying no to people because, plus, and Brian Cage is gigantic. He didn't want to piss him off.
No, yeah.
He kept looking at me. It's like, I don't want to get him mad at me because I'm taking pictures with people. And I'm like, you're fine. Don't worry. He's not that big. You're fine. I still made him take a picture with me in front of Cage just because.
Oh, man.
Which was actually one of the only pictures I took all weekend because he's the Xcite champion. Everybody keeps telling me to bring him back. And he's so busy to try to book. Even when he was champion, it was hard to book him because he was so busy. It was just a very cool, unique convention with a lot of people there. If you had money, you could have spent a ton of money.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And they made a ton of money. I don't know how it got broken up or who made the money, but a lot of money was made this weekend at that convention.
But I think everybody won. I mean, no matter what. I mean, the fans got a truly great experience. So did everybody working the show or working at the podcast or StarCast rather, and just the whole overall sense is just, being pro wrestling fans is like everybody got something out of it.
Right. It was all lead into All In. That was the main thing. Everybody couldn't wait until that show. They wanted to be there. The line to get in the doors was gigantic, like literally around the building. People just wanted to be in the building. They wanted to experience this. They didn't want to miss it. The vibe in the building was unlike a lot. I've been to a lot of shows. I've been to a lot of WrestleManias. I've been to a lot of pay-per-views. The vibe at this show was electric, and you could feel it. It was... They wanted, the fans wanted to make this a night that they all traveled around the country, some around the world, to be there to experience. And there was just electricity in the air. And it started even with the pre-show.
Yeah, you could sense it. I mean, I was in town here watching with Vinny, Bry Guy Signal, Retro Matt from YouTube. and we're all just watching, and you could just tell like how just insanely just energetic the crowd was, and just from the Briscoes and SCU match, and just going right from there. Just everybody, you could just feel like this was an event that we were never going to see before, and we might not see again. I mean, it was just one of those like moments in time.
Yeah, there's no guarantee there's going to be another one of these. You know what I mean? At least they're making it sound like they don't have a plan for another one. And if there is a chance they go back to WWE, there won't be another one of these. This was kind of a special night for the fans. It was a special night for the wrestlers. I was ecstatic that Matt Cross opened up the main card.
Yeah, because I don't believe that was announced, or if it was, it kind of like really flew under the radar.
Right. Because I even asked him, when I saw him, I'm like, are you on the show? He's like, yeah, I'm on the show. I had no idea. And we were trying to figure out in this week, like, what match is he in? Is he in the Battle Royal? We had no idea. Mm-hmm. When he came out, I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. And he's wrestling MJF. Do you want an exclusive?
Sure.
All right, exclusive here. Not really. I've hinted at it, but November 3rd, Xcite Wrestling, MJF in the main event.
Oh, okay.
Throw that out there.
Wow. All right. News breaking here on the ODPH. That'll be a great addition to the Xcite roster.
Yeah. No. I saw him. This goes back all the way back to the Ricky Steamboat show. I went to a House of Hardcore show to interview Steamboat for promos for the stadium, and he kind of cornered me. I kind of cornered him, and that was the first time we ever talked about doing anything ever. And we tried to talk dates. Dates never really worked out. I'm really bad at trying to book new people in, so there was that, and then it came together really early in the year. This has been planned for a while, so to the point where he got hurt, and I'm like, "Are you gonna be all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll be okay by then." Yeah, this has been in the works for a long time, and since we started talking, he is blown up. It was
tremendously, yeah.
It was like a good investment talking to him and get him, because he's all over the place. He's winning titles all over the place. He's just won a title at MLW. He's the CZW champion who doesn't appear at CZW shows. Lots of things. And now he will have a chance to become Xcite Wrestling Heavyweight Champion.
So the main event will be him, MJF versus Joe Gacy.
Is it? Or is it something else that I have planned?
Oh, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can pry it out of you before the end of the show.
Probably, yeah. I'm not real good at keeping secrets. But, yes, Joe Gacy will be in that match, too.
Excellent.
Yeah, it tickled me pink to see them wrestle each other at that show. And they technically opened the show, even though they did the two matches on the pre-show.
They did the pre-show, and then they did the over-the-budget Battle Royal.
Which was a lot of fun.
That was.
They had a good time. You had Ethan Page in his awesome all-in tights that I hand delivered to him, which was I've never given someone tights before, but that was good. There's a local kid that makes his tights, and true to Xcite or Binghamton, we're way late on getting our stuff to wherever it needs to be. And I had to break it to him. I was going to talk to him in Chicago because I gave him a date for the November show, which was technically completely 100% wrong.
Oh, no.
And then he booked around it. So he was booked. I told him it was Saturday the 2nd, and it's really Saturday the 3rd. So he heard the 2nd, and he put the Friday. And I did tell him November 2nd. That was my fault because I thought it was the 2nd was the Saturday. Booked everybody else on the 3rd, though. So, yeah, I had to, I'm like, hey, two things. I got your tights that I'm going to bring to you. I'm going to hand deliver them to you. But, that date? And he's like, okay, these things happen. But we're good for December, right? And I'm like, yeah, December. About December. We're kind of having some building issues. I talked to you about December, did I? He's like, yeah, I know. We had that booked. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. We might be okay. So, yeah, I felt really bad about that.
Yeah, because Paige is incredible.
Yeah, no, and he does really well with my stupidity, which some people don't do really super well with my stupidity and making mistakes, and he does really... He handles it in stride. I always appreciate it. I always feel bad, too, because it happened before for something else, too. I think it was when I had my surgery. I had to pull that date, but that's not my fault.
That's out of your hands.
So, yeah, he had the all-in tights that were for me. And so, long story short, the battle royal was really cool. And it went right into the actual show itself. And the show was a long show. The fans stuck with it. I don't know if we have to recap all the stuff that happened.
We just go bullet points with it. I mean, because it opened with MJF and Cross.
Right.
And then you went right to Stephen Amell from Arrow taking on Christopher Daniels. I mean, and a lot of the matches for the show, too, were set up on being the Elite, the Young Bucks YouTube show. And, I mean, so there's already kind of a built-in fan base. And we already knew Amell from when he did his little stint in the WWE.
You got to remember, that was his third match.
Yeah.
Ever.
And the fact he went coast to coast, too, in that match was kind of crazy.
He did more in his third match as a celebrity who's on a TV show currently, who probably has executives going, you know, we have to insure you, right? He did more than he ever really needed to. And, well, you could tell, like, okay, he's young at doing this. He stuck with a real pro, and the real pro made sure he stuck with him.
Well, yeah, if he was going to be in a match with anybody, Christopher Daniels was probably the best person he could be in there with.
Oh, yeah. It was a really well put together match, and it didn't look like he was out of place, despite being in with, you know, a Ring of Honor champion, and it worked really well. It made you appreciate Daniels better. It made you appreciate Amell better. It was just a really well put together match. And then, you know, you had the Joey Ryan stuff.
Yeah, which, I mean, just going based off of being the Elite, I mean, the Joey Ryan was murdered by Hangman Adam Page, allegedly, and then you had Page versus Bad Boy Joey Janela. And, I mean, that whole match, I think, just stole the show. Just of how, like, I mean, hardcore it was, but just, I mean, overall, just energy and spots they were doing it was awesome to watch as a fan.
I don't know if it stole the show. Maybe it did. I can tell you that table spot where he did the power bomb off the ramp through the two tables. One, he didn't hit one of the tables at all. The other table, he hit the edge of the table. That was the angle that I could see. I mean, I don't know how it came across on TV. I heard it looked brutal on TV.
It looked brutal on TV.
It looked brutal in real life. Joey Janela killed himself in that match, literally, figuratively. It was pretty brutal. The match itself was a typical brawl around and stuff like that. And from that standpoint, that was cool. Penelope got involved. That was really cool. Just a lot of this stuff was really laid out to make people enjoy the match, which is what's supposed to always be. But it was just laid out super well. And then the stuff with Joey Ryan
and the druid penises.
He's the penis taker, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did I not think about this? You kick yourself. Like, I should have come up with this.
Yeah, like Padawan Jay, who was watching with us too, was like out of his chair, like marking out. He just was like, this is like the funniest and coolest idea ever.
One of the Young Bucks was posting about how they bought 10 costumes on Amazon Prime. And I'm like, well, I buy all my stuff on Amazon Prime too. I would have bought my ring there if I could have. So yeah, I only think of what I can do with that later on. And I even posted something on Facebook about how we're going to do the casket match, but it's going to be a penis-shaped casket.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I feel like we can do with an undead Undertaker like Joey Ryan at Xcite Wrestling, because we'll take it to the almost unprofessional level of ridiculous. So we'll see how that goes. But there's a lot of people that had an issue with that.
Yeah,
that's not traditional wrestling.
Yeah, but the thing about All In that I thought was great, I mean, no matter what match you were a fan of, more or less, there was something for everybody. And yeah, I mean, the Joey Ryan stuff, it's not for traditional fans, but you know what? It was for fans that are not into the traditional stuff. The Attitude Era stuff. That's why I say
he died in a match, and in a show, and then the way that match ended was the guy pulled out the phone that he killed him with, wrapped it around his neck 5 times, and then dropped him on his head through a table. I mean, there's a lot of ridiculousness in pro wrestling, and this just added to...
It just added to it. I mean, but it didn't... there was something for fans there. It was to be entertained. It wasn't supposed to be so serious.
No.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like it doesn't need to be serious all the time.
And I can tell you, because I was in the building, the reaction for Joey Ryan and the penis druids, as soon as they came out, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, no, that should happen. That needs to happen."
Yeah.
Why didn't we think that we would have penis druids? Yeah, it was ridiculousness that the crowd thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm sure there's some purists who are like, "Oh, I hated that." Well, okay.
Well, they're always saying about you're quote unquote killing the business, but it's like, you know, there's different fans that like different things. It was entertaining, so I mean, I wasn't mad about it. Nobody I was watching with was.
Is the way I put it on Facebook, for a guy who's killing the business, my business always goes up when he's on the show. So
without question.
So I don't know about that killing the wrestling business, because he seems to be doing pretty good, okay, with it.
But going into like the Cody Nick Aldis match,
you know what? The match was even that great.
Yeah,
the match was good.
It was.
I don't want to sound like I'm crapping on it.
No, but we're talking about like traditional matches. It was pretty much like an old school match, like, you know, that you would see for the NWA. Like, it wasn't anything like super flashy, but it was a great match.
The story of the match was, as soon as Cody came out, people lost their minds. When he got in the ring, people lost their minds. When they both faced off for the first time, everybody stood up and gave him a giant standing ovation before they did anything.
Yeah.
Everybody was up, like freaking out, like, this is why we came here. This is what we wanted to see. Mm-hmm. That was, you know, you get little magical moments in wrestling. That was magical for everybody that was in that building. They're like all standing up going, this guy made this happen. We know this guy made this happen. And WWE said this guy wasn't worth anything. And he made a title that was dead.
Yeah, relevant again.
Now, not to take anything from Nick Aldis, because he's been building this title.
Oh,
to
he's been building
something.
it, but yeah, for Cody.
This here was one of the main events at a sold-out 11,000 people, biggest indie show ever. And here we are. Everybody got up, and when Cody won, nobody, honestly, I think a lot of people thought Cody wasn't going to win.
I didn't think he was going to win, to be honest with you.
Because it wasn't the main event. You'd think if it was the main event, he's got to win.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the show. Cody is exclusive to Ring of Honor. I can't book him if I wanted to. What's he going to do with NWA? And he wins. And as soon as he won, the place erupted, because a lot of people didn't think he was going to win. And when he did, it was like a release. Everybody's like, awesome. This is great. Which, by the way, he practiced that move at Xcite Wrestling when he beat Sean Carr the same exact way. He's been practicing this move for years.
True story.
The moment that he could win the NWA title, he tried it in Binghamton.
Not that you need another reason to get to an Xcite Wrestling show, but right here is case in point.
Just saying, if he didn't try it in Binghamton and see that it could be successful, he might not be NWA champion today.
So technically, Xcite Wrestling is responsible for the win at All In.
I'm going with that.
All right,
sure.
I'll go with that too.
I think that's a good way to go. I was just telling you how I saw Pentagon wrestle, more or less for the first time, really.
Yeah, him and Kenny Omega.
Which was off the charts.
Yeah.
In their stiffness, in their that was more of a New Japan type wrestling.
That was
match.
A strong style match if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and that was really cool to see. And I finally kind of got, people have been telling me, oh, you got to book Penta. You got to book him. And I knew him from, AAA. I knew him from Lucha Underground. I knew of him. But yeah. I'm like, will Binghamton fans care? Because Binghamton's a little weird. We talked about bringing in New Japan guys, right? At times. This seemed like a weekend to do that. And I'm like, well, who can we book that Binghamton will draw?
Yeah.
Because you could say, oh, I want to bring in Okada. Okay, that sounds great. Well, half the fans in Binghamton know who Okada is.
Right. And
Forget the fact he's the best wrestler in the world today. will fans be like, oh, I'm going to have to spend extra money because I want to see this guy come in? Will that happen in Binghamton? I'm like, I don't even know if that would.
No, I mean, unless you're really following the sport of professional wrestling, you probably wouldn't. I mean, but it's nothing against Okada because, like you said, he's the best wrestler on the planet.
We would get fans traveling.
Yeah.
Which sometimes we have fans travel in for certain things, like people who travel in for Cody.
Mm-hmm.
We would get a lot of that. But the average day, I go to a WWE show when they come to town once a year. I only know SmackDown Wrestling.
You're a really casual fan.
The really casual fan that comes to Xcite that we love to have them there would be like, you're bringing in Okada. You can't even say his first name, which I'm avoiding right now because I mess it up every time. And you want me to pay money to see this guy? It wouldn't mean anything to them. He would wrestle and people would be like, oh, well, what's this guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why are they throwing dollar bills from, Joey Sassano at the top of the building throwing dollar bills down right now? I don't get it. So we talk about things like that. So I've had that conversation with Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, will people come to see him? And
I mean, I'm a big Lucha Underground fan, but so I would definitely say him in Phoenix, absolutely.
I agree, too. I think maybe a year and a half ago, probably not.
Probably not, but they're now getting more exposure now that they're on Impact.
They're on Impact. They're on Lucha Underground. They're getting out to more mainstream situations than just diehard wrestler fans that would know him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could work here. But I haven't really paid attention because if I don't know that they're going to draw here, I'm not really like, I'm not the kind of guy who books people because they're popular with a niche audience.
Right.
Sometimes I am, but for the most part, I avoid it because I'm like, that's not the point. The point is to try to get as many fans there that will have a good time, to not lose money, and bringing in niche guys. Like, I love AIW in Cleveland. They bring in a ton of niche guys and they do really well, but I'm like, if I brought Glacier here, I don't know that would draw anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've had that pitched to me from other promoters. Oh, bring this guy in. I'm like, it's not going to draw. People don't. This is a weird area where it's not like Watertown where you need Hacksaw Jim Duggan or you need a old WWE name to draw. We don't need that. You can bring in a top indie guy and people know. But, I mean, I brought in Jeff Cobb, and there was a lot of people like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And then once they saw him wrestle, like, oh, okay. Now
they're like, holy
it.
crap, this is the guy.
Right. Yeah, that's to get in, off topic on booking stuff. Seeing him, I was able to see him for really the first time and really watch and see how he is. And it was phenomenal. And Kenny Omega is Kenny Omega. I mean,
enough said there.
Yeah. And then...
you speaking about Okada, him and Marty Scurll.
Yeah, that was really great. It was really, really great. Minus the last 3 matches all went super long, except for the tag match where they're like, oh, wait, we have to go off the air because they were on traditional pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were streaming on the Fight Network. They were streaming on the Ring of Honor thing. But they were on traditional pay-per-view, which if you go over, there's no finish.
You off. Yeah,
they're going to cut you off. And... they had to squeeze in a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, and they did it with like 30 seconds to spare. It was like as close as you can get to being knocked off the air. Because I watched the video screen because I didn't really know that it was on the traditional thing. 1, 2, 3, crowd pops. They announce the winner. Young Buck raises his hand, and then on the screen, logo out.
Yeah,
that's how it went.
Oh, I know, especially watching, like I said, with the crew I did, like, we're all just sitting there watching, and we're looking at the time, and I think Pat was even going, like, this is supposed to wrap up at 11. Like, they got something else coming on. And I'm going, well, this isn't going to have enough time. There's going to be, like, 12 minutes, I think, if I'm doing my math right. And
yeah, they had to, everybody was supposed to get their own entrance, and then they changed it to make everybody come out all at once for the teams. Instead of having a traditional tag that, blew up, they just are like, okay, we're throwing it all in right now. And no time to breathe, which I actually enjoyed that. I kind of enjoyed that it wasn't just a regular everyday tag that, then gets crazy. I like right out of the gates. Let's get crazy. And they're doing all the spots and all the spots and all the spots. And to me, it was just phenomenal. And the, level of professionalism in that tag match to make sure they're able to get what they needed to get in to tell their story and get out when they needed to get out is off the charts.
Yeah, it was spot on. I mean, I don't think they could have done it any more perfect considering the circumstances at hand.
Right, and the fact is the penis druids took longer than they wanted. I mean, this goes into, show timing and stuff like that. That went longer than they wanted. And then Omega and Penta went like 12 minutes over or something like that. Entrances and everything. And Jericho, we didn't even talk about Jericho.
Yeah, we didn't even say about Jericho making his appearance as Pentagon at the end of the match and setting up for the cruise ship match, I believe.
Yep. It was really a big advertisement for the cruise, which was cool. Especially considering he had a concert that night. He literally got into a car, onto a private plane, to the venue. He did the concert in the Pentagon makeup. Yeah.
Wow. I did not even know about this.
Yeah, because he had a concert in like Kansas or something.
Something nearby, like for a plane would be like an hour flight or something.
Yeah,
like
Iowa or something like that. He had a concert that he had planned that night specifically because they knew they were going to be doing this thing. And, they got him to his concert. He did his concert still in the makeup. I think he took the outfit off, but
wow.
Yeah, so that was like the big surprise thing that they did.
Yeah, there was no Neville, no CM Punk.
No. I don't think we're going to be. Would it have been cool? Yeah. I mean, when they did the table spot during the Battle Royal, I can't see as far. When the guy took the mask off, it was Flip Gordon, but the hair and stuff like that, I was like, is that Punk? Because people lost their mind as soon as he took the mask off. All I heard was the pop.
Yeah.
And could kind of see the hair. I couldn't really see the guy. They're like, they didn't bring Punk in to do this, and because it would be a title match for Ring of Honor. I'm like, oh, okay. All this would, they put him into a marquee match right out of the gate, but that wasn't the case. But when they were into Flip.
Yeah.
They were into Flip when they were into Black Machismo.
Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal doing that. That was tremendous. Him doing the Randy Savage spots, which some people didn't like because it's like, oh, that's not traditional Ring of Honor main event. I'm like, that's
Jay Lethal.
Yeah, I mean, this is I can't wait till next year because they'll probably bring in Flair and he'll probably do the Flair gimmick. That's all I was thinking. Like, next year they're gonna have Flair. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
So yeah, they had everything for everybody. If you couldn't find something you liked on this show, you're probably not a wrestling fan. It's just what it gets down to. It was fun. People were text messaging me, how's it going? How you doing? And I'm like, I'm actually having fun at a wrestling show, and I haven't had fun at a wrestling show in a long time. Usually at Xcite shows, I don't have fun. Are we laughing? Are we doing whatever? Yes, but I'm also thinking about...
Well, it's your business. I mean...
Yeah, you got to think about, are the fans okay? Are the wrestlers okay? Are the production guys doing what they need to do? Or am I doing my commentary right? Am I doing, there isn't a lot of fun there. Yeah, it's one of those things where we were able to sit back. We all got to enjoy being around each other because a lot of us haven't seen each other since either 2CW ended or it's been a long time. And to have this group of people all together in one show, we enjoyed it. It was good to have that weekend to do. If you didn't enjoy the show and you were there, then you should just stop watching wrestling. You should just not.
I agree because, just sitting at home watching, there was so much. You had the celebrity, match with Stephen Amell in there. You had a great women's match, which we didn't even have time to really break down with Tessa, Chelsea Green, Madison Rayne, and Britt Baker. That match was great. And you look at a match that, like traditional style of Cody and Nick Aldis, and you look at just, the extreme street fight with Janelle and Paige, and just there was something there for everybody. So if, like you said, if you could not find something on that card that you liked, you shouldn't be at a wrestling show.
Yeah. You just give up.
Absolutely.
Unless, you just wanted to see Braun Strowman, and if Braun Strowman wasn't there, you're not enjoying it. That's fine. That's okay too. But there was something for everybody to enjoy on this show, and I enjoyed it. I'm glad I went, and I never go to things to the point where I told you, the night before I'm booking the flight, because in my head there's always a chance, like, I know I got the ticket and everything, but that doesn't mean I'm actually gonna, not just eat it and stay home and do nothing for 3 days, which I would have liked to do too. So it's worth going. Next year, if they do it, if they're still around to do it, we'll go again, because we all had a good time. It was like one of the better wrestling things we've done in a long time. And I mean, I'm sure I'll have a very similar experience at WrestleMania, as long as I'm not doing something stupid like a show that weekend. If I do a show the weekend before, whatever happens, happens.
Right.
I'll at least be over it and be like, oh, we don't have another show till the stadium show. So, we'll probably, because you'll probably be there, I'll be there, Tim will be there. It'll be kind of a different crew of the wrestling people that we hang out with.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy that too, because it's not going to be the responsibility of wrestling, which is leading probably to our next segment.
Yes, because when we come back from break, we're going to be talking about the state of independent wrestling and just kind of really breaking down, why All In worked compared to where other times stuff like this just doesn't happen. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the ODPH Wrestling Recap.
Hey, this is the King of Lyle, Luke Visengard, Gladius 205 champion, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for another segment on this week's ODPH Wrestling Recap, and we're talking about All In, the great independent show that was at Chicago September 1st, but I'm going to pass the mic to Moose and talk about the state of independent pro wrestling. So the thoughts, views, and opinions are that of Jonny Moose. Take it away.
This segment's making you nervous, isn't it?
Slightly, because anytime we give you an open free reign to just go off, it's just, we're expecting fireworks.
Well, I know I emailed you. We messaged back and forth talking about what we wanted to talk about. And then you brought up, WWE, and I'm like, nobody wants to talk about WWE and what they're doing. I couldn't tell you what you were telling me about their next show, and it didn't make any sense to me. And
in all honesty, the only thing coming up this weekend is Hell in a Cell, and honestly, I'm just not excited about that card at all. The only matches I am is AJ and Samoa Joe, Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Everything else is just it's thrown together in the whole flip of Braun Strowman from being the top baby face to he's supposed to be a heel now, and we're forcing Roman Reigns down everybody's throat again. I'm just I honestly could care less.
I go in and out of WWE sometimes, and sometimes it's just because of time. A 4-year-old and job and a wrestling company, that kind of does that. But I tuned in. I saw Braun was a heel again, and I'm like, he was primed to be the top baby face, and I kind of tuned out after that point. Sometimes these shows where you have the least expectations turn out to be some of the WWE's best shows. So I won't rag on it because I don't know anything about it. I'm sure that some of that stuff's going to be really great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to check the show out, but I'm just I'm not really yeah, I want to see this. It's just going to be
anytime you have Mick Foley in a Hell in a Cell, I mean, there's potential for something cool, or it could be just Mick Foley being there as set design.
I just don't want to see him get on top of the cage. That's the only thing that'll freak me out. Because
you know what? He's lost a lot of weight, and he does that DDP yoga. He probably could get to the top of the cage if he needed to. I just don't see him jumping off the cage at any point.
I hope not.
I think you're okay there.
I think the only person that might do that is Jeff Hardy this weekend. That I could see him for whatever reason doing a swanton from the top of the cage, and that will freak me the heck out seeing that.
As long as he hits his target, we'll be okay.
Yeah,
and even if Orton moves, he still has to hit his target. If not, then he hits the floor, and then we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen.
So I messaged you because you wanted to talk about Xcite and how we have a pay-per-view tomorrow.
Yes.
The whole point of our Impact show with Xcite on the 25th of August was for a pay-per-view. We taped a pay-per-view for the first time any company's ever taped a pay-per-view in Binghamton. Mm-hmm. It happened at the American Legion Post 80. If you were there, you know it was a pretty cool show. You know that we really stepped up our game across the board. We had light trussing, we had a new ring, all stuff that we kind of alluded to but didn't want to give away because we wanted people to walk into the building for the first time and be like, oh my God, what is this? And we got a lot of that, which is what I was going for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a great set you had set up.
And a lot of people thought that was Impact stuff. None of that was Impact stuff. That's all us. The curtaining on the walls, the ramp from the stage to the ring. We did all that, and we'll continue to do that. The curtains on the wall is problematic. That was, of all the things we did new on that show, the curtains on the wall was the hardest thing that we did, mainly because we had to put poor Frank Sassano on a ladder 15 feet, 16 feet up in the air, and the walls are so dusty that we bought these industrial hooks because they got real antsy about us screwing in things into the wall because, it's a landmark and all that other stuff. And we were still going to do it anyways, but there wasn't like studs to screw into. And if they were metal studs, or we were going right into the brick because once you got through the actual wall, you couldn't go any further, which makes me feel like we were actually drilling into the brick. So we couldn't drill hooks into the wall. So we had to figure out, I got like industrial hooks that you can stick to the wall that can hold up to 20 pounds, something like that. And our curtains wouldn't cost, weigh that much. And we grommeted all our curtains. I bought 14 new 14-foot curtains and all this stuff, and the hooks weren't sticking, but part of the problem was the walls are so dusty and dingy that when you put the hooks against the wall, it's not going against the wall, it's going against the dust. And then it wouldn't stick to the wall. And so we had to buy some super industrial strength tape, and we triple taped it to the thing, hope nothing fell down, and it lasted for a day. So I'm like, well, as long as nobody yanks on it, we'll be okay. But then you don't know when you get that many people in there, the lights, if the walls start sweating, we might have a problem.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of anxiety on the curtains. I wanted it to look good, and one of those curtains go down in the middle of the show, that
everything's off.
Yeah, the ladder is the ladder is from 1938. It's an old rickety wooden ladder that goes to the ceiling. I have anxiety watching those guys go on there because I'm like, one of them are going to fall, and then that's going to be it. The curtains were the worst thing about that show. But we did the show. It debuts tomorrow on is this going up today? When's this going up?
This will be going up as we're taping Thursday. It will be up Thursday night.
So it will be tomorrow. It might even be at 12:01 tonight. I don't know when it actually be uploaded to the Global Wrestling Network. You can get a free 30-month trial. It's only
30-day.
30-day trial. It's only like $7 for an actual month subscription. If you like Impact at all, you would actually like this. This is their version of the WWE Network, where they have all the old Impacts. They have all the pay-per-views. They just have a ton of footage. They have independent wrestling companies, which we're supposed to be one of them. I just haven't sent anyone footage yet. I'm very protective about that footage. Got to make it look good before anybody sees it. But Impact wants our footage on there too. So at some point, you might actually get exclusive Xcite footage that nobody's ever seen before, because we have pretty much 5.5 years of footage nobody's ever seen.
This is true.
So that might be coming up on that network sooner than later. It's a good buy, but even if you don't want to buy the $7 monthly fee, you can get a free month trial. Just make sure you cancel it after, you watch the Xcite show 10, 11 times. Make sure you watch it as many times as you can, because I'm sure they're tracking how many times people actually watch it. And if you get a subscription, I'm sure they're noticing if there's a boost in subscriptions because of it. That just makes us look better because our fan base is supporting it. But watch it. I have all the footage. Nobody knows it, but I have all the footage for the show. I can do my own pay-per-view at this point with my footage. I don't know if I'm supposed to have it, but I do.
Uh-oh.
The guy that did the production on it, he messaged me because we did do the pre-show, which is not going to be on the pay-per-view, and he sent me that footage. He apologized for it taking too long. I wasn't really in a hurry to get it anyways. And I'm like, oh, no problem. Do you know if they cut any of the Xcite stuff off the main show? Because timing and things like that, maybe they might have to cut something. They're not going to cut the Impact stuff off of an Impact pay-per-view, so maybe they'd cut the Xcite stuff. And he's like, honestly, I don't know. I just handled, the actual live editing and getting them the footage, what they do with the footage beyond that. I think I made him feel bad, and I didn't mean to. Because I wasn't questioning them for that part, but I was just, I'm curious.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, you got the talent of the Xcite roster on there. I mean, it's a lot of people are going to see Sean Carr and Drew Van Slyke for the first time.
Isis and Freddie and Axel Lennox and Slick. Yeah, a lot of these guys, they will see him for the first time. And I want them to be on the show. And Impact has not indicated in any way that they were going to take them off the show.
Right.
But we always had it in our mind that if they were going to, that the Xcite stuff would be the first stuff to be cut. And I wouldn't blame them because that's just the way it has to be. And what he ended up doing is, well, I'll just, here's the folder with all the footage. Just take it all. Then you have it. And I don't know if he's supposed to give me all the footage, but I got it. Hey. So... we'll see if they do cut anything. I have all the footage, and you'll see it sooner than later.
You can always post it on the Twitch channel or something like that.
Yep, definitely. But nobody has indicated anything to me about them taking it off. Although we were supposed to sign a bunch of forms that nobody signed. So it's what happens when the two most disorganized companies come together in unity. Disorganization, rules all, and. I found that out in many ways on this show. So, yeah, it's one of those things where everybody was happy with the final product. Impact was really happy with what Xcite did. We went above and beyond anything that they asked for. They did have some things they wanted. They were big on the curtaining the walls and things like that. And even the Legion was a little anti, so you want to cover all our pictures. Well, from a production standpoint, when you have that many lights and all of that is glass pictures, the lights reflecting off of all the lights, it messes up the cameras. So we had to do it anyways. In this next show we have on November 3rd, we're going to do something with the pictures. I just don't know what. Whether we're going to curtain off the 14-foot curtains and stuff again. I've already had people say they'd quit before they do it again.
Yeah, well, I could understand. I mean, just for the difficulty it was last time.
It took like 7-8 hours of people being on ladders to curtain up those walls. That was like I'm not kidding when I say we put up that trussing for the first time. We lit it, we wired it, we did all that stuff, and that was 100 times easier than anything to do with the curtains. So we're gonna have to cover those pictures just because it's so bright with those lights. We might just cover the pictures and that's it. We'll see. I encourage anybody, even if you were at the show, unless you hated it, which we didn't get a lot of people that hated it, I encourage you to please go check it out. I don't know if it's going to be, they implied that it was going to be on like Spectrum and stuff like that. I haven't even looked to see if it was going to be. I know it's on pay-per-views outside of the country where you can go on your traditional cable company and purchase it there. I don't know if you can do that in the States or if it's strictly
through the Global Wrestling Network.
Yeah, and they had implied earlier, of course the dates got moved, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, that it was going to be on the GWN network first and then like a week later on pay-per-view worldwide. So it might still be on like the Spectrums here, but it might not be till next week.
Okay.
Or it might not be on there at all. And like I said, you can get it for free, more or less, if you do their free trial versus buying it on cable. Just go to the Global Wrestling Network. If you go to the impactwrestling.com, they have a link. I'm not sure if it's gwn.com. It's one of those things, but if you go, they'll definitely have links to it. You can set it up on your phone. You can stream it to your TVs, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I want to say it was Amazon, Fire, Apple TV, Chromecast, and Xbox.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. Go to globalwrestlingnetwork.com and get your definitive information.
Exactly. You think we would know?
No.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. I don't even think I've advertised it on our Facebook, but I haven't advertised anything on our Facebook since I said we're doing another show. So I kind of gave everybody a break. I feel like we've kind of killed people for 3-4 months, and I felt like everybody needed a nice holiday break, a little bit of time away from wrestling. This next week, we're going to hit everybody up for November 3rd. Already starting to sell tickets to it because we did release tickets. You can get those at XciteWrestling.com/shop. It's November 3rd, Saturday at the American Legion Post 80. No VIP. Tickets are strictly $15 and $30. We're not going to deal with having to upcharge anybody for it. The card's set. It's a great card. You're going to enjoy it. I don't want to give too much away because I always have until the graphics made a chance to change my mind on some stuff. People have been hitting me up, well, why didn't you hit this guy up? You talked to him at All In. Why isn't this person on the show? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they should be. So my mind keeps changing.
So the only thing we know for certain is MJF versus Joe Gacy in some fashion.
In some fashion. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay.
The match I have in my head's a little bit more involved. And who knows? I mean, it's like 6-7 weeks away. We might even do another one of these before then where we can go into full depth of things, like how I already am
booking yourself back
yes,
on. Oh,
yes,
absolutely. We'll make that happen because I know you're going to come back on for the horror cast.
Oh, the horror cast. I'm booking up more horror things than I am wrestling. I got the horror cast. I'm on the RoberCon panel for The Walking Dead Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Get your RoberCon tickets if you want to see me.
We're going to be there, actually, ODPH panel. And Mike C. has rebranded his horror stuff. Horror Zone 607 is going to be there as well.
Oh, there you go.
10 a.m., we will be there at the panel.
Yes, come support me. I really feel like I need to do some homework to actually remember anything that happened on the last season.
I can give you Cliff Notes.
And they want to talk about Morgan going from the one show to the other show. The only problem is I only watched the first season of the other show. I kind of tuned out because it was just okay to me, but I heard it got better as it went on.
Without going too much into ODPH Entertainment Edition's topics.
Yes, sorry.
Fear the Walking Dead did get better. Okay, season 1 was okay. Season 2 was like a train wreck. I didn't watch season 3. They've now kind of done this time jump where they're caught up to speed with the current Walking Dead.
Right.
So with that being said, they have a bunch of new cast members, and they've actually added a lot to the show. Okay. It has gotten better. I will say that for a fact.
I was kind of like you. I watched the first season. It was okay. Watched the second season or made it through some of it, and then I was just like, it's not that great. And what was good, they were just ripping off from the original series, and it just I wasn't a super fan. I like Morgan. I made me almost want to watch it just because he was on it, but they're going to be talking about that. I'm getting off topic, but
yes, but if you want to go to RoberCon, robercon.org for more badge information. Go check it out. Go definitely hit the panel. Moose is going to be there for Walking Dead. We've already booked that 10 a.m. We will be in
there. You go. See, it's going to be good stuff. Long story short, support Xcite Wrestling. You can go to XciteWrestling.com/shop. Buy tickets. $15 GA, $30 front rows. I don't know that we have this big blowaway extravaganza name guy. There's been talks of different guys coming in possibly that we might be adding. We might not add anybody. I just want an easy peasy show, especially after the bombardment of Steiner and then the huge stadium show and then doing Impact and having all the Impact talent there. I kind of want to just have a nice basic, hit them with hard Xcite stuff. And then I wanted to take a break, but people were trying to not make me take a break.
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, as we're going to tie it back in with All In, it's like you look at how far you've come just being in an independent promotion. I mean, All In definitely was just an idea that just is grown into, what it was.
Right.
For Xcite and how you've consistently just grown the brand and the talent on the roster has stepped up their game and they've gotten better and it's just drawn in more attention, more names. And now it just keeps growing that it's like it's now become like hard to take a break because everybody's expectations are so high and just the fan base has grown.
The problem that you run into, and now we can start getting into indie wrestling and the gritty indie wrestling thing.
Yes, where we had the disclaimer earlier.
Yeah. It's hard to run indie shows anymore. And maybe this is just me, and I'm the only one that thinks it's hard. But the guys are all getting signed. They're getting signed to MLW has contracts, Ring of Honor has contracts, Lucha Underground has contracts. All these companies are signing people to contracts where they either can't do indie dates anymore. Impact has contracts, or their company supersedes anybody else's company. So Impact pulled Moose and Fallah Bah and a couple other guys that were supposed to be in Atlantic City for standalone wrestling. They were on the card. They were announced in matches. They pulled them because we're doing a pay-per-view. It's nothing to do with Xcite. We had no say in any of it. I had to tell the guy that I was dealing with at Impact when he gave me the talent list, hey, do you know this guy's working another date? Do you know this guy's working another date? Because he didn't know. And he had to then go do what he does. It's hard. Now, what you find is companies are having more problems than success. And that could be just my opinion. But you look at a company like CZW. Now, CZW, we have a lot of ties to CZW. When we first started, people thought it was going to be baby 2CW. We were more baby CZW than we were anything else.
Right.
We had a lot of their guys, and it got to the point where we had a match that was so ridiculously like their dojo wars that I took over saying, like, no. Because a lot of times what happens is, when you're booking shows, you have guys give input and things like that. Oh, bring this guy in, bring that guy in, and then what you end up having is a bunch of dudes that you don't necessarily want on your show, but are friends with, you know, your top guys, and you're bringing them in because you don't want to upset anybody. That kind of was a breaking point for me because I was just like, this is ridiculous. We're not CZW. We're not Dojo Wars. We're Xcite. We need to deviate and go back to being what we were.
Right.
You look at CZW, and this is going to come off negative, and I don't mean it to, but it's kind of fallen apart at the seams. Their attendance is way down for being what was, what I would call, even a year ago, the top indie in the country. And the owner, DJ Hyde, said, oh, I don't think it is. And I'm like, DJ, it is. I believed it. And I think DJ believed what he was thinking. But since then, even one of our not blow-away shows with all these names is drawing better here in Binghamton than they are, you know, close to Philly. And that's not a knock on them. We're building an audience. We're getting bigger ourselves.
Right.
But the fact is, there's a disconnect down in that area. There's a lot of companies all working in the same area. The Game Changer situation, which a lot of people don't understand the dynamics of that, has hurt them a lot, where Game Changer is out CZWing CZW with their hardcore and ultra-violence, and they're giving fans the ultra-violence that they used to get at CZW.
Interesting.
Now, there's a lot to that nobody realizes, that they're doing certain things that come back on DJ, where he is getting issues from, whether it be the state or whatever, because of other companies doing these hardcore things. The state looks at DJ being the hardcore guy, says it's you're doing it. And he's like, no, it's not me. He lost his school because of it, or at least his location. They've moved locations a bunch for their shows. I think that doesn't help anything. I think they're really trying to do less hardcore and more wrestling.
Okay.
All right, that's fine, except it seems like they're cutting a lot of the budget. It seems like there's a lot of dojo war guys on there. Now, granted, the whole point of a school system is that the school people will eventually make it to the main roster.
Yeah.
Perception is different, though. Like Xcite, we have students, and I filter them in as best I can, but I don't do it at the cost of the other guys that need to be on the show.
Right.
Usually I just add to the show, which already is big as it is, which is why I'm real big on not bringing a bunch of extra new people in, because I don't have any space for anybody new.
Right.
It's hard. But I watched their latest show, Down with the Sickness, and, they did the Kid Cash Memorial Ladder match, and the two guys, Johnny Silver and with Alex Reynolds, they killed each other, and it was great. But a lot of the rest of the card, there was a lot of young talent that I didn't even know who they were. No clue.
Okay.
The fans' perception of that is not good. They're like, well, I could go to Dojo Wars and pay $5. Why do I have to pay main price if I can just see the same guys at Dojo War? Which is a valid argument.
It's a valid argument, yeah.
The fact is they are doing very questionable things. Matt Tremont is Mr. CZW, and he said, I'm out. Other guys have left. Some of the things that they've been telling me just doesn't make sense. Like some of the guys that are helping run the show doesn't make sense. And then it didn't help that there was a leaked message that I guess if it didn't go out publicly, went to like a Facebook message with all the roster or whatever it might be from one of the owners saying, well, our attendance is down, obviously, but, our streaming is up. So we can make money off our streaming, but we want it to look good. So if you have any friends or family that come in who wouldn't come and buy a ticket normally, just tell me who they are, and I'll just give them a free ticket so we can have people be loud and be in the crowd. A lot of the big companies are doing this. And I'm like, and this leaked. When you originally read it, like, did they put this out to the public? So they're just pretty much saying you can have a free ticket to any show.
No, I mean...
Now, even if it was just to the roster, I'm like, I don't know. I work with a lot of big wrestling companies, and WWE gives out a lot of comps. Impact probably gives out a lot of comps, but that's so the building looks full, but they've already sold a lot of tickets on their own.
Right.
They're filling the building, and by doing that, they're advertising the show. If you're just giving it to friends and family, you're not advertising the show. You're not doing a contest on the radio where people are hearing it and can get free tickets. You're just giving free tickets away. And based on the crowd that was there, I was just like, if they gave comps, that's not good. And I don't want this to sound like I'm crapping on CZW, because I want CZW to succeed. I've gotten a lot of talent from CZW. I have a lot of friends that work at CZW.
Right.
Where a lot of people don't like him, like DJ Hyde. I get along with him. I don't understand what they're doing. And this is a problem a lot of wrestling companies have, where it's weird because a lot of companies will just be like, it costs too much money to run. I'm just going to use inferior talent and run.
So you're essentially watering down your product, is
right.
What you're saying.
I'm sure I've done it at Xcite, but I try not to do it at Xcite. And I see it, and I see all the posters on Facebook of shows, and I'm like, oh, looks horrible. And some of these shows draw really well because all of them sell 1 million tickets, and once their buddy's done wrestling, they leave. And by the main event, there's 50 people in the crowd instead of 150 people in the crowd. It's discouraging. And you go to something like All In, and you're like, oh, this is really great. And then you get back into the reality of pro wrestling where it's like, oh, this next show, we don't have that big blow-away name. We don't have the Scott Steiner on the show yet. Mm-hmm. There's always a chance that I'll change my mind because I do that from time to time.
Right.
And our attendance will probably be down. And that's a bummer to me because we had one of our biggest shows just a couple weeks ago. And to me, it's like, why aren't those people coming? Are they only coming for the name? Are they only coming because we were running a pay-per-view? Why wouldn't they come when we just do what we do best? Yeah, having Impact there is cool, but that's not what we do best. We have a lot of great local guys. We have a great national guys that come in that might not have been up here because there was no space for them. That gets discouraging.
Yeah, but you also have to kind of take in perspective too. Like if you're comparing the pay-per-view to what's going to be next, I mean, yeah, you might have a drop to a degree just because I think more people were checking out because it was a pay-per-view.
Right.
Right. I mean, but if you're looking at, though, you take out that show from the equation. The shows have pretty much been consistent, I would say.
Yeah.
Like for me going as a fan, I mean, obviously we've never talked numbers of tickets and all that jazz. But just going in and just seeing from firsthand, it looks like either they've grown or they've stayed consistent because the product, no matter what we're getting, we know when we go to an Xcite show. Like, I mean, I've talked, like I said, many times with like Pat or Retro Matt or some of the other names that have came on the show, Kevin Molson too. Is okay, we go to a Xcite show, they just hear it's a show and then we go, but we're fans,
right?
So it's just okay. What's going to be the hook to catch a casual fan? That's
the problem, and you get into how do you advertise, how do you do this, how do you do that. There's a lot of different factors that go into it,
right?
And how you book a show and keep it consistent. Generally, our audience, it range from like 200 to 300. The bigger shows is over 300. That building can only really seat 400, and we were trying to max it out at the Impact thing. And trying to keep fans consistently involved, aware of what you're doing, is harder than it should be. I think part of the problem is there's definitely a fatigue problem here with the fact that people have been running shows for 13 years and over and over and over and over and over and great stuff over and over and over and over again, where it's like too much. And then you do a basic show and people are like, yeah, that's just a basic show. I'll wait to the next one when they do something bigger. That's why I want to take a break. I keep saying, I want to take a break because I want to give a little relief to make people want it again.
Yeah.
And then we come back with, if we don't do anything until March, which is a possibility, what we're going to come back with March will be phenomenal. There's a chance we might now do a January show that I didn't want to do. But if we do it, it will be for a good reason.
Right, but essentially what you're saying is, you don't want to go so much that people become desensitized to it. That your product, like I said, I've only talked, like we said, we've never talked numbers before. Just going as a fan, though, it's like what you're going to expect. You're going to expect to be entertained. It's not so much of, who you're bringing in and who you're not. Obviously, sometimes, you take a look at, like, the Stadium show. Okay, that one had a lot of names that were coming in. You take a look at the Impact show. That was going to have a lot of names coming in.
Right.
But it's just going to be a matter of, okay, well, we still have a talented roster. What's, how do we, almost get the casual fan to start paying attention to them, on the same level?
Right. And that falls on me as the guy who's booking the show. A lot of people won't take, they're real quick to take the credit when something goes well and not real quick to take the blame when things go wrong.
Right.
I always take the blame of everything. Anything that goes wrong, from you didn't get your right seat to, a wrestler botched a spot, somehow that was still my fault because I'm the guy that put it in the ring.
You're the face of the organization.
And a lot of guys don't do that, and I don't like that. We're kind of all over the map on this. But
yeah.
The fact is, at the end of the day, it's just becoming harder. And I want to see like a CZW who seems to be, I think it's just it's spiraling the wrong way. And I feel really bad about it. But it's something that a lot of companies are going through, and a lot of companies are just shutting down because they don't want to deal with it. We're entering an interesting time where it's the best of times and it's the worst of times, and it depends on where you are on that pendulum that would determine whether you want to keep doing this. And I was talking to somebody today, and I'm like, I don't even want to run November 3rd. I've actually enjoyed having 2 weeks of no stress and going to a wrestling show and enjoying it. Now, that's just me being uber bitter me.
Right.
And in the next week, when I get into doing the graphics and doing the tickets and doing the whatevers, and we start getting ticket sales more than whatever we have and whatever it might be, the fact of the matter is it comes back. And it's like, okay, we're going to kill this show. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's going to be awesome. And it comes back to you when you do the show, especially when it's a good show, especially when you have a crowd that really eats it up, and the next day all you're getting is notification about how it was great. You get that feeling of, oh wow, that was really worth it. But there's a dark period when you're promoting where it's just like, ugh, we got to do this again. We just got done doing it, and it's just it gets tough sometimes. And I think there's some companies that are in some rough spots where you're going to see some companies just disappear sooner than later. And I'm not saying CZW is going to disappear because they still have 100,000 YouTube followers and all this other stuff. It's not like they're all of a sudden going to disappear.
No, but it's going to become the challenge because obviously when the major talent gets signed to the companies like the WWE, the Ring of Honors, New Japan, then your talent pool is going to be, okay, who's going to rise up and become the next big names? And then it's just a matter of, okay, you look at your roster and it's almost like a challenge to them. How do we get over with people that are not, really hardcore fans? Because the hardcore fans will come no matter what. You say it's a wrestling show, boom, they're there.
You gotta think of it like this, and I'll leave you with this for Xcite. I didn't go to the Luma Fest. I heard it was great.
It was great, yeah. I went down.
Axel Lennox, who has had a few main events at Xcite lately, was walking down. He was at the thing, and people were stopping him left and right. Oh, man, you wrestled Scott Steiner. Oh, man, you were in that. Oh, man, when's your next show? It's getting out there. It's becoming more and more where people know that we're doing this. Our biggest problem has been exposure and people actually knowing we exist, and it's starting to happen, and the attendance has gone up because of it. It's just keeping them coming. And you could say, okay, well, you need to start running every month, but then you're going to fatigue them. And it's a weird situation, a weird time to try to figure out what the right potion is to keep them engaged in what you're doing. And it doesn't help that I hate social media and don't want to do anything with it. I understand that's a big component of it, but I also feel like I see what other companies do, and when they bombard people, bing, 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 I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm annoyed at this, and I'm sure I can't be the only one that sees that and is like, no, because they're trying too hard. Your show's only this good. It's not this great.
Yeah.
Stop saying it is. I think there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of hyperbole about how great something is when it's just okay. I try not to ever do that. I'll say, like, this might be one of our biggest shows because I know what the ticket sales are. I know if it's going to be one of our biggest shows. If I know a show's going to tank, I'm not going to be like, this is going to be the best show ever. This is going to be the biggest attended show ever. No, because it's a lie. I don't like that aspect, and I see it all the time.
You just got to take where the card is given to you and just make the best hand of it. I mean, that's honestly what it is. It's just a matter of, okay, this is what we have. We're not going to have, a crazy sellout, but we'll put out a good product. And if we can go and just touch base, like, I'll even take it from like a smaller perspective because I know we're really running out of time here.
Oh yeah, I'm about to get killed.
Yes, but take a look at, like, I usually come in there with a group of like 8 deep, easy.
Yes.
And it's always somebody new we always try bringing down. We always say, hey, we want to come down to the show, check it out, see what you think for yourself. And obviously somebody buys their own ticket. I mean, we've never been given comps, nor would we ever take one. And just a matter of word of mouth is like, that's how that's spread. Because somebody goes to a show and goes like, holy, this goes on like all the time. I'm like, yeah, anytime you hear there's an Xcite show, this is like a typical Xcite show. And it's just a matter of getting that, the person who comes for the first time, okay, they see a great show. No matter what it is. I mean, if there's something on there that sticks with them, then they can take it forward, and then that's when they start talking, and that's when they start getting into it.
The thing is, I've known you for 18 years?
Yep.
Somewhere in there?
Give take.
And you started coming to the shows, and I know that I've asked if you just want to come, and you've always said no. And you're always saying no, and you're like, I'm going to bring 8 other people with me, and they're all going to pay for tickets. And then I'll try to give you a discounted ticket, or I'll bring you in for the VIP, because you guys support me. You don't need to. Mm-hmm. And you guys have always been the best at just trying to support Xcite and what we're doing. And it's part of the reason why I'm here. If I can support you in any kind of way, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where we have fans like that are there every show, mm-hmm. That want to be there. And you want to give them the best show we can. Not every show is going to be the best show ever.
No, that's fair.
Like I said with the WWE shows, like this next show we got, I'm not throwing it out there that this is the biggest thing. That Impact thing, we're going to blow it away. I wouldn't say that because that would be a lie. But at the same time, I know what the card is. I look at the card on paper and I'm like, oh, this show's going to be really good. Will it draw really good? I don't know. But I know that people that will come to the show are going to be like, oh, I've never seen this guy wrestle before, because there's a few other people that are coming that people might not have ever seen before. And they're going to be like, wow, I really like that guy. Mm-hmm. And, oh, wow, I didn't even know he would come to Xcite. Or Dan Barry, who will be back. I want Dan Barry back here because he might be retiring soon. And I'm like, I need to have him on whatever card I can get him on. I'm going to have him because he entertains the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And I know that he entertains the crap out of fans. But a lot of people don't see him as much. And then when they see him, they're like, oh, my God, this was great.
Yeah.
Fallah Bah was the same way. A lot of people didn't know who Fallah Bah was.
They're had no idea who he was.
Big guy dressed like Yokozuna, and then him and Dick blew everybody away.
That was the match of the night, by the way.
Right. So we want to do that at Xcite. We want to have people come in and have this preconceived notion, oh, it's just an indie show, oh, it's whatever. And then they come in and they're like, wow, that's great. And I don't want to do it at the expense of using inferior talent and hope they step it up to do a show. I want to make sure that everybody's like, wow, that guy was really great. Now, granted, I have some students. They need to work. People get on me a little bit like, well, these students, I don't know if they're ready. Too bad. They don't have places to work. They have Xcite. There are guys. this is where they're going to learn. So one day, maybe in 3 years, that guy's the main event. Everybody's coming to see that guy. So but we try to limit that to a match, maybe 2. Then we fill up the rest. And I really believe like November 3rd is going to be really awesome. I don't know what shows we're going to do after that. We might do January. We were going to do December, but it's not working with the building. And that's another problem we have some issues with. So it might be January. It might not be until the end of March. It might be right before WrestleMania if I have my druthers. It might be the weekend of March 16th because that's our official real anniversary. It's going to be sometime in March or January, or it could be December if we find a new building. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. Unfortunately, with our setup, we can't put it up in a day.
Yeah.
It takes a while, and unfortunately, the Legion's busy. They have events, so we have to book around them, and they have to book around us. So we'll see where we're going to go. So if you want to see Xcite, I can tell you this is probably going to be the last show of the year. Go to XciteWrestling.com/shop, buy a ticket. We haven't even announced a card. I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it regardless of what's on it. And I can't thank you enough for supporting us. Go to Global Wrestling Network. Watch the pay-per-view. I bet you're going to enjoy it. I've seen the footage. I don't know how they're editing it together beyond what I've seen. And I know that you're going to enjoy it because it's the best Xcite's ever looked, which was heavily because of all the production stuff we did. Now, I'm not taking anything away from their production guy because he was great. But most of it was because of what we made changes to. And, I think you're going to enjoy this stuff. And keep an eye out. For all the all-ins there's a lot of wrestling companies that are just keeping their head above water. And I'm not saying Xcite's one of them. We could be. I don't know. It depends on my mood on any given day. But support indie wrestling if you can, because there's a lot of companies that need support. We need support too, but we're lucky enough that right now we've been doing okay. But a lot of companies aren't. And you might think they are, and I can tell you they're not. Support ESW up in Buffalo if you can. They're a great company. Just support great wrestling and support companies that treat their fans right. I've always tried to do it. I hope I have. Just support them, because there's going to come a time when there's a lot of companies. Look at 2CW. Everybody thought 2CW would be around forever, and then it disappeared. And a lot of factors went into that, but one of them was that it costs a lot to run those 2CW shows, and sometimes when they would have a Hacksaw Jim Duggan show, some fans wouldn't come because I don't want to watch Hacksaw Jim Duggan again. Well, guess what? If that show didn't make money, that goes to the bottom line. They didn't have the Bucks and Steen on that show, but you didn't make it to that show when you really should have, because there's a lot of great stuff on that. Other companies are in that situation. So support indie wrestling.
There's a lot of good ideas to be thought about this, because what is the solution to the problem? So let's throw this hashtag up, hashtag Xcite ODPH. What is it that's going to get fans to come to shows when you see that companies are kind of struggling a bit? Like, what is? I mean, we'll just post it to the public and see what they get.
Yeah, I'm all for it. We're always open for suggestions. We don't always take them.
No, but just to get the conversation going, because
and honestly, I hate putting out, what wrestler do you want to see? Because I usually see a bunch of indie dudes who are like me. That doesn't help me. That's not what I want. Fans to tell me what they want. No. And I know that we have a lot of flaws in the way we do things. A lot of companies have more flaws. Some have less. So I'm always open for suggestions of what you think can make things better. I'm always open to talent suggestions, but that doesn't mean that it's feasible. No. Yeah, I'd love Rob Van Dam to be on every show, but I don't have all that money to bring him in. Things like that, you got to be reasonable. Yeah, Kevin Nash sounds great, but he's not going to wrestle, so I don't know that it's worth bringing in.
No, but even we throw it like this. We got the hashtag Xcite ODPH. What makes you come to a wrestling show? And maybe what's your ideas that would make other people want to come to a show? We'll just leave it at that and see what you get. So for Jonny Moose from Xcite Wrestling,
thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to ODPH Wrestling Recap. We'll see you next time.